What do you think of this? For a third and a second, he's going to the Colts.
The Colts badly overpaid. Badly. You should receive draft compensation for taking Carson Wentz, who I told everyone 2 years ago in the second half was not good. And then last year, everyone finally figured out, actually, yeah, he's not good. He's a reclamation project. Notice the only two teams interested were former teams with former coach connections, right? Reich and also DiFilippo in Chicago. When the Eagles were talking about multiple first-round picks, that was laughable. The fact that they now have a second and maybe it could be a first down the road. Right now, what it is a third and a second, and that's too much to pay. And by the way, I don't like if you sense some kind of negative feeling toward Carson Wentz from me, he's very tough. I think he wants to be great, and he's extremely talented. But there was so much regression, and he had way too much power in the organization, in my opinion. And what I don't like, if you're sensing some kind of negativity, like whatever I said about Tom Brady, it wasn't personal. It's that I thought he was getting old. He showed me otherwise. In Carson Wentz's case, the way he handled the benching was awful. The fact that suddenly it would come out in the press the day of Jalen Hurts' pro debut as a starter, that, if Carson Wentz is going to be a backup, he wants out. To me, you really want that in your locker room? Carson Wentz, to me, they need to build him up from the ground up, and that includes the attitude and everything. No first-round pick in the deal. I still think they overpaid.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to debate that third-round pick, conditional second-round pick. I mean, basically what you're saying is that Carson Wentz should have been given away for a bag of cookies, okay? That's basically what you're saying. I mean, how dare anybody give any kind of compensation for him, how awful he has been? That's not how it works. When you have a trade, somebody gets something in return for somebody else's services. And when you think about Frank Reich being the head coach and the fact that he was the quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles the year they went to the Super Bowl, 13 of those games were with Carson Wentz as his quarterback, and they were 11-2 before Carson Wentz went down. And so I look at it from that perspective, and Frank Reich knows how to work with this particular quarterback. But there's something else that comes with it that I think we have to pay attention to. Pro Football Focus had the Colts ranked as like the 7th best offensive line in football. They had some injuries and what have you, and we know that, and that's why they tailed off from being even better than that. But they were still a top 10 offensive line in this league. Why should that be relevant? Carson Wentz was sacked 50 times last year. 5-0, 50 times. The Philadelphia Eagles gave up 65 sacks as a team. 65 sacks. The Indianapolis Colts gave up 19 with a stationary target as Phillip Rivers as their quarterback. 19 sacks. Think about that for a second here. So I'm Carson Wentz. Now, you could point to him holding the football a little bit too long, and it's really not about the offensive line. It was really about Carson Wentz holding the football, not getting rid of the football quick enough, et cetera, et cetera. You could do that. Or you could look at it and say, T.Y. Hilton is there. They've got some other weapons in there. They got a decent running game with Mack and the crew there, and you got an offensive line with Frank Reich, a guy that he respects and listens to, coaching him. I think this is a good move for the Colts. I think they believe it or not. I'm willing to go so far as to say they won this trade because of who he's going to. Not because of Wentz, but because of who he's going to and the support that he has around him. I think it's better than what he had in Philly, and I think it's a good move for the Colts to have made.
Look, I think this is the perfect price for Chris Ballard to have paid for Carson Wentz. You weren't going to get him for free. I disagree wholeheartedly that Carson Wentz is just really right now, just kind of trash that you need to just throw out the door. And look, I've heard you for a long time talk about Carson in this way, Max. And look, I get it. I get where you're coming from and why you're coming at him this way in terms of how his play tailed off. I don't think that physically he is someone that cannot be, let's just say, rehabilitated from a physical standpoint. I think what's going on with Carson Wentz is strictly and totally it's mental as far as how he handles being challenged, how he handles being competed against, how he handles adversity, how he handles expectations. There's no question about that. He has been fragile, he has been brittle, and he has not handled it very well in that way at all. And that has manifested itself into his play declining at such a rate that is really, it's unfathomable to me. It's one of those things I never just expected to happen. But I think the negative effect of drafting Jalen Hurts and having that kind of competition for him was something that Philadelphia severely underestimated. And I'm not saying that they're wrong for it. I'm just saying they underestimated, and Carson did not handle it very well. That being said, going to Indianapolis is the very, very best place for him to go. It really was the only place for him to go if he's to have any chance to really get his mind right, first of all, and then have the kind of supporting cast that he needs in order to reclaim his status as one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't think there was any other place that he could go in order to achieve that. Frank Reich understands what makes Carson tick, how he fell off, the kind of things he's going to need to do for him on a personal basis in order to get him to play at a high level, keep his confidence up. He does have a much better offensive philosophy and or system with which Carson will now be able to, operate under. And I think right now, it's one of these situations where it's sink or swim for him. It's all or nothing now for him in Indianapolis, because if it doesn't work out there, I believe his career is over. It's done. He will be out of the league very quickly.
Hold on. Guys, real quickly, I just wanted to make sure I made a correction because I mentioned Marlon Mack. I mentioned Mack initially, but I meant Jonathan Taylor because I know he's the leading rusher for them this past year. But go ahead.
Yeah, Stephen A., I just want to say, I think the two of you, if I combine the points, hit on it. Indianapolis is clearly the best chance Carson Wentz has because, DiFilippo's in Chicago, but there's no O-line. And Stephen A., you hit the nail on the head in Indianapolis. Quentin Nelson was such a great draft pick, and everyone knew he was going to be great. But, and Lewis, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but to my eyes, he's one of the best interior offensive linemen I have ever seen. If someone said, name the best interior, he's the first. I've never seen anything like that at the guard position. And the fact that Carson Wentz will be protected by that line, and he has a coach there, it gives him a shot.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.